Today I'm here to review A Fistful of Dollars, starring Clint Eastwood. And this is the first of the Man with No Name trilogy. You got this film, you have For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, Bad, and Ugly, which I don't have For a Few Dollars More. I thought I did, but I didn't. I do have The Good, Bad, and Ugly, but what I might do for now is review this film, and then come back when I have the second one, review that, then The Good, Bad, and Ugly. So that way I'm not missing out. So I'm gonna wait, talk about this film because this was a first time watch for me, so I'm just taking a lot of this in. And these characters are different, even though my understanding is they share a lot of the same characteristics and traits, but they are different characters. In this film, his character's name is Joe, Clint Eastwood's character. And right off the bat, it's a great film. Classic Western, which you would call a spaghetti Western. This was the first. And it was this film that really skyrocketed Clint Eastwood. And around this time, he was working on the Rawhide TV series. And from reading information, about the film, if I'm correct, his contract wouldn't let him film anything else here in the States. So he had to go overseas and make this film because it's Italian made. So of course, as you can imagine, behind the scenes, there was a language barrier because no one really spoke English. The director, Sergio Leone, he didn't speak English. So you had this interpreter on set who was also the stuntman. So Clint Eastwood would have to communicate with him, and the stuntman would have to communicate with the director. So a lot of interesting stuff behind the scenes, and there's a lot of history, in the making of this. Now, the film's budget was around $200,000, and it grossed about $14 million, and that's back in 1964. So it was a hit, and again, it really it skyrocketed Clint Eastwood. A year later, he would do For a Few Dollars More, and then a year after that, The Good, Bad, and Ugly. So, yeah, and this is where you get a lot of these signature, sort of looks, sort of that signature squint that Clint Eastwood would make. And you got the whole poncho, the whole thing with the cigar, the poncho, and Clint Eastwood really nails down that look. Like no one else could do that. Like he's, like he just really delivers, and he doesn't say much. He's a man of few words in the film, but he's great in the film. When he delivers. It's, again, he doesn't say much, but he doesn't have to. He's Clint Eastwood. But talking about the film, the plot, you have Clint Eastwood's character, sort of this mysterious gunman who rides into this town. I think it's called San Miguel. And it's sort of a dusty town, very rough. And you have these two factions, which one faction is like the Baxters, and you have this other faction led by this character, Ramon. And they're trying to, Clint Eastwood's character, they're trying to get him to, work for one side. But his character can't be bought. So, he's a loyal guy. He can't be bought. So, pretty much he creates this job, he creates this plan to, pit each faction against each other, and it's up to Clint Eastwood's character to stop them and just get rid of the rough people and the greed and so forth. And so, and it's a kick-ass character. And yes, the plot's simple, but it works, and it's just a great movie. It's a great Western. Again, this was a first-time watch for me. So, it was a lot of taking it in, and, you know, and the pacing to me worked fine. It's an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, pretty much an hour and 35. You take away the credits. It's shot well, beautifully shot. Like, it's very, this type of film, it's very raw. Let's see if we can fix that up. Like, the way it's shot, it's a very raw and gritty, like, film texture. And it's very down and dirty, very rough. And I love that. I love the way it's shot. Like, it's not clean. Think about it. Nowadays, when you see a Western, like a modern day Western, it's all polished up and stuff. And, you don't get Westerns like this. And, I love the way it's shot. It's a very, it's very raw, very gritty. It's not clean. It's a very unclean, and it really works, with the film. It makes it work. The bad guys I thought were fine. Talking about the cast, I guess I could talk about the cast real quick. And I'm going off IMDb here, so if my computer will cooperate. You have the villain Ramon, who is played by Gian Maria Valiante. And actually, he would go on to be For a Few Dollars More. So he was in that. And unfortunately, he passed away back in 1994. But I thought he was a good villain. And in fact, let me go off my phone because, I'm afraid my computer is going to be wants to fuck with me. So I'll just go off my phone. It's quicker, and I can do that. The girl Marisol, I believe is the character's name. I thought she was fine. The woman character. And, like I said, the way the film's shot, I mentioned that. It's shot beautifully. The plot I thought was fine. The cast, I thought it worked. Some of the lines in the film, like, there's a scene where before Clint takes out these guys, he's like, have 3 caskets ready. And he comes back and he's like, my mistake, 4. And you got some fun dialogue like that, just kick-ass lines and dialogue. And, only Clint could deliver those. When a man, let me just read off the quotes right here. When a man's got money in his pocket, he begins to appreciate peace. And I remember the line in the film where he's like, if you're going to kill somebody, go for the heart. And a lot of memorable scenes. I mean, especially in the end where you got the whole standoff and, the main villain shoots Clint Eastwood. Like, he's shooting him, and he's like, why isn't he dying? And then you got that famous scene where he pulls out the plate. You see the plate, you see the bullet holes, or, like a few shots. But he pulls off the plate, and it's like a badass scene, the way it's all set up, and, a lot of close-ups of the villain and Clint Eastwood. And the bartender, the friend of Clint Eastwood's character in the film, I thought he did fine. And, you can tell that, this film wasn't shot in English. They had to go back and post and, fill in, dub over and stuff, so. But I still, the film's very good, and it's very enjoyable. And I was sort of going to the trivia part of it, looking at the trivia for the film. Like I said, I mentioned about the squint, Eastwood's signature look in the film. And this is kind of where it started. And it says right here, this has been described as the first spaghetti western. But when this film was made, there had already been about 25 such westerns. produced in Italy. This was, however, the first to receive a major international release. So, and I think, and I was actually saw this on Wikipedia too, in regards to the film. Charles Bronson was considered, and he turned it down because I think he didn't like the script. So he got that. I think Henry Fonda too was considered. Yeah, it says right here, after considering Henry Fonda, director Sergio Leone offered the role of the man with no name to James Coburn, who proved to be too expensive. Charles Bronson then turned it down after describing it as the worst script he's ever seen. So, yeah, Charles Bronson, I wonder what that would have been like. You know, Clint Eastwood helped in creating his character's distinctive visual style. Eastwood himself cut the cigars into 3 pieces to make them shorter, even though Eastwood himself was no non-smoker, so he didn't smoke, but yeah. And just kind of, skimming through the trivia here. They mentioned that at first, there were some disagreements between Eastwood and Sergio Leone, and Eastwood was paid just $15,000 for the film, and stuff. But I'm just trying to see what I can mention that's of note. Yeah, first leading role for Clint Eastwood. So, that's a. And then again, a year later, doing it for a few dollars more. A year after that, The Good, Bad, and Ugly. So, like boom, boom, boom. He was just knocking them out. And, it says right here the film was shot in 8 weeks. That's interesting. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, what more can you say about the film? It was very nice to watch, and for a first time for me, I really enjoyed it. It's one of those westerns that's a classic. It's I'm trying to figure out the word for it, but yeah, just a great movie, classic. Clint Eastwood's great. This character doesn't say much, and and he makes it work. You got very, again, shot beautifully. Has that sort of raw, gritty, rough texture. That, again, today's westerns, like this type of genre today doesn't work. I mean, and you go to fucking Walmart and you see like your $5, $3 westerns starring John Schneider or something like that, or Tom Berenger. That's what westerns are now. That's what westerns have come to, is, what you see at Walmart for $3. And either it stars Tom Berenger or John Schneider or, something like that. I'm like, but, films like this, I can see why it's a classic. And I keep saying this, but Eastwood's great. It's a well-shot film. It's very beautiful. No green screen whatsoever. The scenes, very memorable scenes, with the end. When you find out he has that plate underneath his, poncho. Great scene. I thought the bad guy was intimidating, and I thought he worked. So yeah, I mean, that's my review of A Fistful of Dollars, and yeah, definitely watch this if you haven't seen it. And I definitely have to watch, the other two for a few dollars more, in The Good, Bad, and Ugly, and I do have Hang 'em High. I do have that one. I'm trying to get more Eastwood westerns for the collection. And this was definitely entertaining. I really loved it. So, yeah. It's like, what more can I say about this film? But if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. So that's my review of A Fistful of Dollars, and we'll see you guys later.